What's up, Karizzma crew? This is your captain speaking. We've covered classic Halo maps that have been remade in Halo Infinite, but with the Season 3 update, forgers for the first time have now been able to forge on top of original 343 dev made maps. I first saw these altered maps from Dan the Bloke on Reddit, who was making what he called time-swapped maps, where he would go in and change the look of an existing map like Streets and turn it into the daytime. And it kinda got me doing some research. What other maps have the community altered? And these are some of the maps I found. This is the map created by Dan the Bloke, and it got me interested in checking out all these altered maps. Streets looks pretty cool during the daytime, and it looks very believable. There doesn't seem to be super obvious signs of alterations on the map, and I didn't notice any other changes on the map in terms of design or the weapon spawns or anything like that, so I'm assuming it would play just like the original. Up next is Cliffhanger. This is another mostly natural looking altered map. I say mostly because the moon seems a bit too prominent, and I suspect I know why. You'll see later in the video too. The snow seems to be more prominent in this version, and I don't know if it's because it's been altered or because it just contrasts more with the dark sky. Overall, it looks great and very natural. Again, there doesn't seem to be any other type of alteration in terms of weapon spawns or power-ups, so it could be interesting to see how it actually plays in multiplayer. And here we have Deadlock, altered to look like it's been in a snowstorm. It mostly looks good and fits the aesthetic of the original map. Again, I noticed that the moon seemed a bit too prominent, and when I got into a Banshee, I saw why. It's a bit too close. I could even go up to it and crash into the moon. Not the best moon landing, if you know what I mean. In hindsight though, I didn't try getting off the Banshee and landing on it, but I imagine that would be pretty funny. That's not where it stops though. Deadlock seems to be a very popular map to alter, but that's no surprise. I think many fans will agree on Deadlock being one of the better BTB maps in Infinite. This version aims to be Deadlock during the day, but in my opinion it looks too artificial. Some places on the map look comically bright to the point where it becomes blinding and hard to see. I think if it was toned down a bit, it would look a lot better. It has some good potential, but still needs some tweaking. A third version of Deadlock aims to do the opposite of the previous one and build a darker version of Deadlock. I have to say I like this version more than the daytime one. Its execution is better for the most part, and visually it looks more believable. I could see this being a good map to use for a custom big team infection or something like that. The entire map is probably too big for a regular size infection. Up next is a snow version of Behemoth, and I don't know how I feel about this map, to be honest. Sometimes it looks like the map is covered in snow, and at other times it just looks like a little bit of snow on top of sand that's just super bright. I don't know, it just feels off. I do like how the map's been altered though. Instead of Banshees, there are wasps on both sides. Also, the bottom area has been opened up with snipers spawning inside them. I'd be very interested to play this version of the map. The camo or overshield spawn is gonna be so chaotic with 4 different line of sights. From there, we move on to Imperium. This version, called Towering Heights, is much darker than the original map and really gives off some cyberpunk vibes. The police cars with their flashing neon lights really adds an interesting look to the map. In addition to that, they also block the line of sight for the sniper spawn, which could be an interesting way to play the map. It definitely seems well suited for infection, or maybe even a regular match type. I really like this altered version. That's not all though. With how much people love the Pit, there's also a version of Imperium that has the aesthetic look of the original Pit. And side note, although popular Halo Forger Unique has made a fantastic recreation of the Pit, it's not really the focus of this video because I believe it's been made from scratch and not altered from the original Imperium map. That being said though, it's a super cool remake and very faithful to the original, so do check it out if you're interested. Back to the altered map though, obviously the color scheme has been changed to better match the original Pit look. The weapon spawns have been altered so they're just lying on the floor or against the wall for a more classic look instead of the weapon pads. And the power-ups are these glowing orbs on top of cones, which is closer to the original Halo 3 look instead of the original ones that we have in Infinite. Although you still need to activate them instead of it activating right away when you touch them, so that's a bit weird. The skybox outside of the map has also been modified to reflect more of the original aesthetic. Sprint has been disabled, and the gravity is also lower to mimic Halo 3's more floaty physics. It's an interesting version, and I think fans of Halo 3 would definitely enjoy trying out this version of Imperium. Next we have Infection version of Bazaar. Although not as dark as I expected when looking at the preview thumbnail, I think it's a very well made map. It seems a little bit darker than the original, but I could be wrong. It's got a rainy weather aesthetic, which is definitely cool for Infection. There's a police car in the middle of the map now, which for some reason is floating in the air. There are new barricades set up around certain areas of the map, and new pathways have been opened up to get inside the bases. I really think this variant of the map could play well for Infection. Great work here. After that, I had a look at 2 versions of Fragmentation. Ever since we saw that leaked footage of a winter version of Fragmentation, I've always wanted to see someone actually forge and make it. For now, I only found Thunderstorm or rainy versions of it though. The first, called Fragmentation Thunderstorm, overall looks pretty good. There's some burning areas around the map which are cool, but upon closer inspection, it looks like some of the flames are just floating. The lightning actually does damage, but it's kind of funky. There seems to be some kind of delay and the damage radius is unclear. It's also in a spot where players may frequently travel through, so it could be an interesting environmental factor like the lava thing in the middle of the map breaker. Also, I don't know if forgers have control over this or not, but it looks like the indoor sections still have rain falling through, which does break the immersion a bit. The second version, called War-Torn, is more on the realistic side, I guess. The rain is more toned down and the lightning definitely looks more realistic. The lightning effects are also placed around less popular locations, so I figured they must just be there for aesthetics. I decided to take a grapple shot up there and quickly realized that I was so wrong. The lightning can in fact kill you. Also in this version it still rains indoors, which makes me wonder if forgers indeed don't have control over it. If any of you know, let me know in the comments. Up next is everyone's favorite map, Launch Site. This variation, called Launch Day, actually looks pretty good and very realistic. Also, there have been some major changes to the map, so I'm eager to see how this version would play compared to the original. There's now a chain fence on the sniper or skewer side, so people can't just man cannon across. And when I first saw it, I started comically imagining players using the man cannon out of habit and just getting splattered onto the chain fence. However, I went around to the other side and realized that the man cannon is also blocked off, so that definitely won't be happening. I am curious though if players can shoot through the chain fence. I didn't have a chance to try it with anyone, so if you guys know, again, let me know in the comments. There are also extra barricades around the map to provide more cover, as well as new decorative cars. It definitely could change the way the map plays. And then we have Live Fire. With the new update to Live Fire in Season 3, people were bound to put a spooky twist to this map, and that's exactly what Dark Live Fire seems to do. It's a different type of alteration though. It almost seems like there's a monochrome filter applied to it, and for some reason, it's only in the outdoor area. You can kinda notice it on your weapon coating, especially when you're going from outdoor to indoor areas. You'll notice that the filter isn't applied. Overall, certainly a cool version of the map, and it just reminded me again how excited I am to see where the future of Halo Infinite's multiplayer narrative is heading towards. So those were just some of the modified maps that I found. Which was your favorite? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, Superman punch that like button and subscribe for more Halo content. I'll see you guys in the next one.
Subscribe to Kaptain Karizzma.